Welcome back to Sub-Zero Hero. If you're new to this series, we're trying to take a club from the bottom of Norwegian football to the top, using nothing but our own youth intakes. If this is your first ever episode, completely disregard the table you can see on screen there. That's absolutely not what it's like in this save whatsoever. We should not be anywhere near the summit of the Norwegian second tier. We will lose today's game, I can assure you, and begin our descent back down into mid-table where we belong. Absolutely nobody is to be using the P word down in the comments, by the way. As well as bringing you that game against Brian today, we're going to give the club a little bit of a health check today. We're going to show you the club vision, the manager profile, the staff, as well as updating on how the under-19s are getting on and having a look at the development of some of our young stars. So let's kick off our behind-the-scenes tour of Tromsdalen with the managerial profile. It's not brilliant reading, if I'm honest. We're 7.5 seasons in, and we've only got a reputation of 45%. One of the things holding us back in that in more than 7 years, we've only done one coaching qualification with this club. The board repeatedly turn us down. They send all of our coaching staff off to study, but poor old Muggins here gets overlooked. So it means that our managerial reputation is being hampered just a little bit. Why do they keep turning me down for badges? Well, it's probably partly to do with the club's dire financial situation. Nearly £700,000 in the red. Remember, we sold our star player last year for £600,000. Otherwise, the situation would be even worse. The board rarely, if ever, pump money into the club. And whereas last season we had a wage budget in excess of £20,000 a week, well, they have halved that now, and it's just over £10,000 a week. However, one area where that's not held us back is in our staff, and you'll see that our staff levels are pretty decent. We've got vacancies still for a coach, which we're trying to bring in, and if we could make him an attacking coach, well, that could give us the best coaches in all categories available of the clubs that are playing at our level, so that's pretty pleasing. We need these good coaches, by the way, because our facilities have not been upgraded since we joined the club because we just do not have the money. In fact, our training facilities have now been downgraded twice as the footballing world has moved on and poor old Tromsdalen have stood still. So we've got average training facilities for our players to work in. Fortunately, we've still got good youth facilities, good junior coaching, and perhaps, most importantly, exceptional youth recruitment, which I think is the second best level that you can attain. So we're right up there in terms of our youth development. Speaking of our youngsters, we should probably check in with our under-19s and update you as to how they've been getting on. So unfortunately, our under-19s are not actually performing that well. You'll see that they are embroiled in a relegation battle, not helped by the fact that all of our best youth players from the last 2 intakes at least are all involved in first team action. But we do not want these kids slipping out of the top level of Norwegian youth football. Remember, 2 years ago, we were crowned champions of this level, and we really don't want to go back down to regional youth football. And part of the reason for that is that we do now have, as part of our club vision, the requirement of developing players using our own youth system. And an important part of that is making sure the under-19s are playing at as high a level as possible. You'll see, in terms of club vision, things are ticking along pretty nicely. We've got an A- rating. They're quite happy with what we're doing with the wages. They're quite happy with what we're on course to achieve in the league and how we did in the cup. So the club vision is looking pretty good. Maybe we should next show you how we've been getting on in terms of our form. In that last episode, we kicked the season off with a great 4-1 win, and aside from a little 4-game blip, things have been going okay. We got a 5-0 win in our next game, and Hugo Emper banged in 4 goals. And Hugo, well, he's been on form this season. We got a good 7-0 win in the cup. We got a defeat against Haugesund, which was disappointing because I've branded them as our fierce rivals now after they beat us in the playoffs last campaign and then stole Ludvig Dreyer from under us in the transfer window last time. But we got back to winning ways. We beat Kongsvinger 4-0 and that was a good result. We then made further progress in the cup. A 0-0 draw with Egerton was a little bit disappointing before we exited the cup, losing to Premier Division Viking, even though we'd taken the lead in that game and gave them a bit of a fright. That started a little bit of a nervous time because we got a draw against Arlesund, who are 5 points clear of us at the top of the table. So they are a great team, but that had made it 3 games without a win. And then we lost to Mjøndalen. Again, they were just ahead of us in the table at the time. And we started to think that maybe our season was going off the rails a little bit, but we improved. We beat Ranheim, like Sondal, a team that were in the Premier Division last season, and we beat them comfortably. Then we beat HamKam 3-0, a 0-0 draw with Levanger, followed by 2 back-to-back 2-1 victories, one against Åkesson, one against Fredrikstad, means that we're now lying in second place in the table. As I said in the intro, we're not using the P word, but things are looking okay in terms of survival. Maybe we should now check in on the team we're going to send out today and have a look at how our players have been training. So this is pretty much our preferred starting 11, and inside of this we've got some young players who've been training very, very well this season. Bjorn again Pedersen is back training well. Didn't do great last campaign, but he's got lots of improvement being made this season, so that's pretty good. We've also got all of our youngsters agreeing to sign new contracts at the end of this season. They're already agreed. The only one that will not agree to a new contract, unfortunately, is the player that is training the best, and that is Martin Dusend Ibsen, who's now made a further 15 attribute point games this season on top of the 70 gain that he made last campaign. He's now worth, total attribute wise, nearly 400 attribute points. By far and away our best player, and compared to last season, he's actually playing pretty well as well. We're not panicking. We've still got a year and a half until we'd have to think about selling him rather than lose him on a free for nothing. And maybe, if there was to be Premier Division football in that time, that might encourage him to want to sign a new contract. We have been playing Mats Nessa a little bit as our right back, still one of our best players, and we've also got his loan extended all the way until the end of this campaign. So that's pretty useful as well. The other player that's been training pretty well for us, by the way, is gorgeous George Lual Ago, who came through in the last youth intake. Initially, I didn't think that much of him, but he's been training really well. We've been giving him substitute appearances. Today he's going to make his 4th start of the campaign as well, and he's only 16, but he's actually got a couple of assists in the game that he's played and has looked pretty good. The other player that's been training well, that's probably going to surprise you a little bit. That's Hugo Emper. Actually made some improvements in his attributes. His jumping reach is up to 17 now. Strength has got a little bit better as well. He's got a little bit quicker. We're working him hard on his finishing training, and well, I think that might be paying off a little bit. He's got 9 goals in 12 appearances this season. Granted, 4 of those have been spot kicks, and he's missed one as well. But Hugo is definitely playing pretty well. So this is the team that we're going to send out to play Brian today. A win? Well, a win, and we're looking pretty good for those playoffs. A defeat? Well, it could be the start of another blip. We should probably see how we get on. And away we go then. We are the home team for this game, so we're in the blue shirts and the red shorts. And we're underway early with our little mate Gerson. Ness has got a chance to get the little cross in. And Dusend Ibsen, who's had a few long-range efforts that have gone in this season, he's not going to manage to get that one on target. This is a tough old game. Brian are down there in 9th place in the table. They're a pretty dogged and determined team. A team, apparently, that play a Catenaccio defensive style, so they might be pretty tough to break down. I'm not altogether confident we're going to win this one. We've won the last 2-2-1. We weren't quite as fluent as we were in earlier games during the season, so we've got a little bit of work to do today. Gersa probably should have tucked us into the lead in that game, and he slid one just past the far post. You'll see that we've only had 2 shots during this opening half hour. In fact, Brian have been doing a little bit better than us. I think we get the shout out of demand more right away, and that has forced a highlight. Doesn't look Like it's a Tromsdalen highlight though, and they're in. Oh, and our goalie has let himself down there. He's come out into no man's land and Bryan have slipped the ball past him. And now we're looking to see whether our shout can actually become a berate. Doesn't look to be a lot of danger. He's gone out wide. Our keeper's in no man's land. 2 defenders surround him and none of them can stop Velda putting the ball into the net. We can go with the berate shout. We're in. And I did say I wasn't particularly confident about this game. We've got a little bit of work on to save it, but Hugo has nodded us back level. Maybe the berate shout has rallied the troops a little bit. Who will be giving the assist to this time, by the way? Is it Gorgeous George? It is. I tell you, he's only 16. This is what, his 5th start, I think? He is doing pretty well, little George. We've got one more highlight before the break. Could we at least rob the ball back and try and have another effort before the half? It looks like we could. Ibsen has sent Emperor away. He's not the quickest, but he did enough to get away from his defender there. And he, just like Gersa earlier in the half, has rifled one past the post. What are we going to say then? We improved during that half, but it was not the greatest, and I think we need to let the boys know it. We'll have a word with them, and we'll see you for the kickoff for the second period. So I actually decided to freshen things up for this second half, and I've made a change out there on the left wing. Hugo Riding was not performing well, so I've brought Christopherson on in his place. And we've not made a great start to the second half there, have we? We've only got 1 shot on target. And we're getting towards the 60-minute mark. This is not quite the performance that we were hoping for. In fact, I think I'm going to see whether we need to make another change, maybe just to freshen things up. Okay, I have made a little change. I've brought Schönerson on up front, who can't finish but is quick, in place of Hartvigsson, who has been pretty sulky recently because he wants to move to a bigger club. None are interested, but he keeps coming and knocking on the door to see whether I'll transfer list him. And he's not happy that I keep repeatedly telling him he's just going to have to get used to life with us. We look like we're going to recover the ball here. And I'd like to see us create a little something. We've got Gersa. He's headed it on. Hugo's taken it early. Not renowned for his long-range shooting, Hugo. And we need more. We're going to have to... Well, let's wait and see how this goes. We might have to berate them. Okay, looks like we might be breaking. This is the man with the pace. He's all right foot though, so I don't know what he's going to do out there on his left. He's dinked one in. Hugo's had another chance. We're going to demand more again. It's better, I suppose, but it's not what we're really looking for. Now we've got a free kick. Christopherson sends it in. Oh, and Schönerson has missed a gilt-edged chance. I thought he was going to tuck that into an empty net. Granted, the angle was a bit narrow. Thought he might do better than that. We've got one more change up our sleeve. What are we going to do? Schönerson, maybe, for retiring Gersa, could switch over to the right, and we will bring little Chrissy Nuts on for the end of this game. And I think we're going to give him a slightly different role. We're going to ask him to be a pressing forward, try and close down their back line, maybe win the ball back for us. I feel like Hugo has had a couple of chances that maybe we could have tucked away to help win this game. I was going to do another shout, but we're on the free kicks again. This time Nuts has just fired one over. And we're going to give them one final berate. That's G'd them up in terms of the body language, but not in terms of the chances. We're into the injury time. And we've got maybe one more chance before the end of the game to get ourselves the win. Here's Gorgeous George. Can't get the ball into the box. Now we've got Christopherson, and he can do nothing better than strike it against the legs of a defender and win us the corner. We've got the corner coming in. We've rattled the bar. That was a decent chance as well, wasn't it? Looks like we're going to lose a little bit of ground. We keep our undefeated run going, I suppose. But really, we would have liked to have gone in and won this game. And hold your horses. Has Hugo just tucked another one away for us? I think he has. And we're over the added time at the end of the game. I think we should perhaps throw on a bit of time wasting, see if we can nurse this through and make it our third 2-1 victory. in 3 matches. Okay, we've thrown a little bit of time wasting on, and has little Hugo just bailed us out and maybe got us a result that, well, didn't really look on the cards. It's another good finish. 2 more goals for Hugo today. Does that make it 14 for the season? It may well do. Now, we're over the added time at the end of the game. We're just waiting for the ref to blow up here. We need to try and win the ball back. In fact, we don't even need to do that. We've stolen another result. Well, I was already calling that game as a draw, and little Hugo had other ideas. It wasn't the best performance in the world, was it? Shall we say that we got away with that one today and we were poor, or shall we keep the morale going? Well, it's a 50-50. I'm going to say we keep the morale going because we have such a young team, I suppose, that they might be a little bit fragile. So we'll see. Arlesson won today. They are still a healthy distance ahead of us. But it looks like maybe some other teams have dropped some points because we're now 4 points ahead of Haugesund. Alright, we're still not mentioning that P word, but that table does look healthy, doesn't it? Remember, we've got 30 games in this campaign, so 2 more down, and we're at the halfway point in the season. I'm starting to think that with a 7-point gap between us and dropping out of the playoffs, it might be a realistic ambition for us this season. Let us know down in the comments where you think we might finish, because it looks like we could be on our way to a good campaign in Sub-Zero Hero.